The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Fly, and Elbaf has been one of those arcs that have been foreshadowed and hinted at for one of the longest in the series, all the way back in Little Garden, having been mentioned long before Wano Country, and has been mentioned before we even got to Alabasta, and has been mentioned throughout the story many times, such as Big Mom's flashback and her connection with Elbaf, Annie's lobby with Kashi and Oimo. As stated by Jaguar D. Saul back in Robin's flashback, a common misconception is that all giants are born or at least live in Elbaf, which is not true in the slightest. The giants of Elbaf are said to be a warrior race, clearly being inspired by Vikings based on the way they are dressed, act, and their beliefs and morals, as well as being inspired by Norse mythology, as Norse mythology has been referenced throughout Elbaf many times, such as Prince Loki. The warriors and citizens of Elbaf are said to be the strongest race on the planet, and Linlin going as far to say that if she had them as allies, she would already be the king of the pirates. And for further proof to show how strong Elbaf is, 100 years before the current story, Mother Caramel pleaded to the world government not to execute members of the giant warrior pirates in fear that if Elbaf were to exact war on the world government, they would completely annihilate them. And because of this fear, the world government released the giant warrior pirates. So the mere thought of the world government going to war with the Elbaf warriors put so much fear into them, they released members of this infamous pirate crew. And to segue, the giant warrior pirates are a group of pirates from Elbaf that formed and band together to form a pirate crew. And it seems to be a generational thing because 100 years ago, Dory and Broggy were the captains, and before them, the captains were Jorel and Jaro, with one of them being killed at the hands of Big Mom 50 years ago. And 100 years later, in current story, there is a new giant warrior pirate crew led by Hydru. And now that we know the importance of Elbaf and how long it's been hinted at, we need to talk about what should we expect in Elbaf. Elbaf is clearly set up to be a very important arc, and is probably going to be very important in the history of One Piece, with its several connections being Big Mom, Mother Caramel, and most importantly, our sniper, Usopp. There's many people in the community that believe that Elbaf isn't going to be important.
What's that?
Or might not even happen.
What?
Which is absolutely insane, but that's besides the point. This arc, Elbaf, will be very important for Usopp as a character because his dream is actually intertwined and linked to the warriors of Elbaf, because Usopp wants to become a brave warrior of the sea, and he believes that the giants represent what he wants to be. So not only has Usopp stated many times that he wants to go to Elbaf, but he wants to be a giant. Not that he wants to be a giant in terms of physical attributes, but more of be a great and brave warrior of the sea, similar to the giants of Elbaf. Usopp's dream of becoming a brave warrior might not be complete or finished at Elbaf, but it's going to further him and continue his characterization and his dream into becoming a brave warrior in the sea. And an interaction, or at least a serious encounter with Big Mom, might be imminent, with her disdain towards the giants. And maybe to show his growth as a brave warrior of the sea, Usopp will try to challenge and fight Big Mom in a one-on-one. Obviously, he's gonna lose and get rinsed, but it's just prove his growth as a character, and he won't back down to anyone. To many people hearing that might seem like a stretch, but for the character growth of Usopp, that might be very important for him, because it's not going to show his actual strength, because obviously he'll lose to Big Mom, but to show how much he's grown as a character to go against and challenge and stand up to an emperor of the sea, one of the strongest pirates in the world today. So I believe it will be a very important character moment for Usopp, and he might even unlock King's Haki on Elbaf. Many people assume that Usopp should have King's Haki. I honestly am one of those people that it would complete Usopp's character, and it will come full circle for him to be a conqueror of the sea. And as we know that King's Haki is actually can be born with King's Haki instead of just learning it. So it's very possible that Usopp actually has King's Haki, but I'm not exactly sure because he's unlocked Observation Haki. And in all cases of someone unlocking King's Haki, that was always the first Haki that they unlocked, which was King's Haki, with the examples being Doflamingo, Ace, and Luffy all exhibiting and unlocking King's Haki first before all other forms of Haki. Just a little observation I had about Haki, and that all conquerors that we've seen in the story thus far, when we first seen them exhibit it, King's Haki was always the first to be unlocked. But Usopp having Conqueror's Haki makes perfect sense because he's shown many times that he's a capable leader. Being introduced leading a ragtag group, even though they're kids, he's still the leader of them. And Usopp has the charisma of a conqueror, where he's able to bring people and gather around him, such as all the warriors at the Dressrosa and was able to rally them all and ended up having them fall under Luffy's flag and becoming the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. And we've seen that all users of Conqueror's Haki have the ability to gain these allies and the charisma to attract other people. Doflamingo, Luffy, Shanks, even Don Chinja, who is the leader of his Hoppo Navy, Bo Hancock, and there's many other examples. But I digress, that's for another video. We're talking about Elbaf. And there's other characters that could show up in Elbaf, and one is Emperor Red-Haired Shanks. Many people have theorized that Shanks will show up in Elbaf and actually might be his territory because of similarities that they share, but we made a video about that previously, so check that out if you want to hear it. But if he does show up, it would make sense because there's a character that's directly intertwined with Usopp and is the reason for why Usopp is the way he is now and is searching to become a brave warrior of the sea, and that's his father Yasopp. So if Yasopp is involved with Elbaf, that will further continue the growth of Usopp's character. And speaking of emperors, another emperor that is heavily involved with Elbaf that will play a major role is the Emperor Big Mom Charlotte Linlin. We know the history of Big Mom and Elbaf. It's very shaky, with her killing one of their famous figureheads, and many years later they try to amend things by having Charlotte Linlin marry off one of her daughters, Lola, with Prince Loki, who Prince Loki himself actually offered to marry, but Lola declined, thus straining the relationship between Big Mom and Elbaf further. Also, the citizens of Elbaf are the only people besides Streusen that knows the secret of Big Mom, in that she ate and killed Mother Caramel and all the orphan children, because one of the warriors of Elbaf wanted to check in on Mother Caramel and he saw the events unfold. So this plot point will be a major thread in the Elbaf arc. And in Elbaf, I believe the truth of what happened to Caramel will finally be revealed to Big Mom. But there's also yet another emperor that may be involved with Elbaf, and that is 100 Beast Kaido himself. Him and Linlin actually made an alliance in Wano to try to take over the world, and in chapter 985 revealed that their next plan of action is to go after the ancient weapons, which to me is incredibly insane because that implies that one of them or they both know the location of at least one ancient weapon, because it would be really weird if they just state, oh hey guys, we're gonna go after an ancient weapon, but we don't know where it is, so we'll get back to you when we find out. I think that they know the location of at least one ancient weapon, or maybe well, at least I hope they do. And I doubt that they know that Shirahoshi is Poseidon, an ancient weapon. Although it was Big Mom's territory, I don't really believe that she knows, because very few people know the fact that Shirahoshi is Poseidon. The only people knowing is Nico Robin, Neptune, Im-sama, the Gorosei, as well as Caribou, who overheard a conversation. But there is one ancient weapon that could possibly finally play a role, and that's Uranus. We know that Pluton is a battleship, and we know of the location and what Poseidon is, but Uranus has never been mentioned beside at one point when Nico Robin and Neptune were discussing the ancient weapons. So what if the possible location of Uranus is actually on Elbaf? We've seen that there's a giant tree there over on Elbaf, and many people said it was Yggdrasil. Sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation, but what if that tree leads to a sky island, which leads to Uranus, because Uranus is named after and a reference to the Roman Greek god of the sky. And we know Elbaf is not affiliated to the world government at all, so what better place to leave an ancient weapon protected by the strongest race on the planet than Elbaf? And I believe that the next course of action for the two Yonko alliance is that they're gonna head over to Elbaf and subjugate the warriors, with Big Mom probably even thinking that she tried to play nice with the giants. She tried to amend what happened, it never worked and it could never work, so now they're gonna play by her rules and she's gonna force them to join her cause. With Kaido on her side, no one can stop her, and they're gonna force the giants of Elbaf to work for them and possibly get the ancient weapon Uranus if it's there. We're gonna see a lot of familiar faces in Elbaf, Oimo and Kashi, Usopp and the Straw Hats telling them that they saw Dorian Brage and that they're actually good, with the arc ending with Usopp getting the giants to join them in their cause. And the legend of Usopp will grow with his influence spreading across the world, influencing the giants, the Skypians, as well as the dwarves. Anyways guys, that's the video. You know me, I just like to talk about every possible option that could happen and I want to discuss it with you guys on what you think. I'm not exactly sure about the ancient weapon, but I don't see when it's gonna play a role. It's either in Elbaf on top of that giant tree, or it could be in Mary Jo's for all we know. And I'm unsure exactly when Uranus is gonna play a role, because the story will be coming to a close once Wano is finished, and we'll be heading towards Laugh Tale as well as the end of the series, because once again Luffy will have 3/4 of the poneglyph at the end of Wano. I also think Elbaf and the giants as a whole are going to be very important in the history of One Piece, and we're going to learn a lot and their connection in the Void Century. Big Mom's plot with the giants will come to a close in Elbaf. Whether she dies or not, or she survives for another arc yet again, is unsure. But one thing we can all agree on is that Elbaf will be a very, very important arc for Usopp, and whether Shanks is going to be involved too because of the similarities with the Vikings and all that. I don't know, he might, we'll see. But that's all. Put down in the comments what you guys think. Also follow me on twitch.tv where you can catch our live streams where we chill, vibe, and all that fun stuff. Also on Twitter where you can get updates. But that's it. Hope you guys have a good day and a good night. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Toodles!